Serial Killers You've Never Heard Of, Part 3. This is Cayetano Santos Godinho. His nickname was the Bigeared Midget. And yes, I know what you're thinking. In 1912, he terrorized the city Buenos Aires in Argentina. He committed 4 murders at the age of 16. At a very young age, he was known for killing animals and starting fires. His crime spree began in January of 1912 when he set fire to a warehouse. He told police, "I like to see firemen work. It's nice to see how they fall into the fire." Throughout 1912, he had a slew of arson and attempted murder charges, but 2 of his 4 murders are especially horrific. In one case, he set fire to a 5-year-old girl's dress and she later died of her injuries. He then abducted a 3-year-old boy and drove a nail into his skull. In 1913, he was sent to a youth reformatory and later prison where he died.
I wish you could just restart. Everything's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it, you're gonna be fine. I think everything's gonna be okay. What would it be like if you could just restart?
This is known as a necromancer mask. They originate from Tibet and they're made from the skull of a fallen priest, worn over the face of the necromancer. By chanting, he may raise the dead from their grave. This one's a prop, but still as creepy.
This is a photo of a little boy that I kept seeing in my dreams over and over again about 2 years ago. In my dream, I was by myself and I rented out this huge hotel room. And I noticed this large wardrobe at the end of the hallway. One day as I was standing looking at it, the doors slowly started to open to reveal this little boy sitting inside of it in the darkness. His eyes were closed and he was leaning against the back of the wardrobe. He was the only thing in my dream that was black and white. And in my dream state, I was like, oh, he's probably sleeping. I'll just close the door and go to bed. The next day, the same thing happened. The doors of the wardrobe would open, reveal the boy sitting in there with his eyes closed. And once again, in my dream, I was like, oh, I better not disturb him. Then I went about my day. And when I got back to the hotel, there was police officers everywhere, ambulances, and the front desk lady came up to me and she was like, please don't go into your room. And she told me how they found a body of a little boy in the wardrobe. But I had this dream over and over for a year. One day I was on the internet and saw this photo of the little boy and it looked.
A human head fished from these waters has been identified.
The victim, Julia Crane of Bensalem, Pennsylvania, was reported missing January 6, 2020. Thought to be a runaway, Julia was last spotted on a highway in Pennsylvania begging for a ham sandwich.
The craziest torture methods ever, Part 11. Cold cell torture. One of the 6 torture and interrogation methods used by the CIA. You are placed into a tiny windowless room with minimal clothing, while an air conditioner runs on full blast. This can last for days, months, even years. Notably used on Officer Nguyen Van Thai. He was captured during the Vietnam War and suffered this for 4 years. Fuck that.
This haunted home has a terrifying dark history. Welcome to the La Perle White House, located in Baguio of the Philippines. The home was built by a wealthy man for his family in the 1920s. It was intended to be a summer getaway house but became a place of death for his family. Their 2-year-old daughter wandered onto the road in front of the house and was hit by a car. The nanny who was supposed to be looking after her then took her own life in the home's attic out of guilt. All of the La Perle's children would soon die, then their mother, and then their father would drop dead of a heart attack while attempting to leave the house for the final time. This place was also used as a temporary garrison by the Japanese during World War II, which saw many tortured and executed in the building. Paranormal events that occur here are pretty intense and even include attacks. Would you visit? Full videos on the Amy's Crypt YouTube channel.
What if the government has been lying to us and this is all a simulation, but not in the way you think? Now, if this is true, some shit around me should start falling or malfunctioning. Watch. Whenever we say simulation and all this, stuff that we're trapped in the matrix, yada yada yada, we're always thinking it's ahead. Like we're really in the year 2221 or 3000 or whatever. But why? The Roswell crash happened in the 50s. We had anti-gravity technology in the mid-60s. We had nanobots for the first time in the mid-60s. The computer came out in 80-something, but did it though? Or did we have them with the Roswell crash? You see? I didn't fucking call her name. Did you hear me call her name? What if the whole Matrix simulation shit began somewhere in the mid-70s or the early 80s? Been living this whole time thinking it's 1990, 2000, 2010, 2020. Meanwhile, it's still just 1984. And the elite are seeing how well we're performing.
Unfortunately, some members of the media
use their platforms to push their own personal bias, and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is an arcade game that will put a curse on you if you play it. This game is called Polybius, and I'm gonna let you know why you should never ever play it. In the fall of 1981, a mysterious video game suddenly appeared in arcades around Portland. The staff who worked in these arcades had no idea where it came from. The game involved geometric patterns and colorful shapes, and it was apparently instantly addictive. Kids were lining up to play this game. And what's disturbing is that these mysterious men dressed in black suits would come and watch kids playing it while taking notes down on clipboards. Sometimes they would later show up at those kids' houses to collect data on their experiences. Now, people who played this game began experiencing very strange symptoms: nausea, migraines, memory loss, nightmares, and they would also complain about the inability to become sad. There were also a lot of reports of kids going missing after playing this game. Now, this is all supposedly supposed to be a creepypasta, but still, be careful.
Photo behind me looks pretty normal, right? This is a photo that was taken of Josef Fritzel. While it looks like he's enjoying his time in this photo, his daughter was at home locked in his cellar. Over the span of 24 years, he kept his daughter imprisoned in their basement. That wasn't until in 2009 his crimes were discovered and he was imprisoned for life.
Here are some banned episodes of kids' TV shows. The first episode is from Sesame Street, and this aired in 1976. They decided to have the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz come on the show. The premise was that she was flying over Sesame Street when she dropped her broom, and she spends the episode trying to get it back, threatening to turn Big Bird into a feather duster at one point. This episode got a flood of negative feedback from parents because kids were terrified watching it, so they got rid of it right away. The next episode that was banned was from Pokemon. There was a scene where Pikachu used lightning to detonate incoming missiles and he saved the day. Now, this explosion on the show was red and blue flashing lights, and these lights caused 700 children to have severe dizziness, headaches, blurred vision, and actually a lot of people had seizures. They called what happened the Pokemon shock. It was all over the news, the episode was banned, and the series had to actually take a 4-month break because of it.
Really freaking creepy places, part 2. In the Czech Republic, there's a church called the Sedlec Ossuary, which has a ton of decorations made completely out of human bones. This happened because there were so many people in the church that there wasn't enough room in the cemeteries to bury them. So, the church leaders managed to convince a ton of people that if they donated their bones to the church, they would become closer to God.
Imagine being a twin and knowing that one of you has to die. Well, that was the exact case for June and Jennifer Gibbons. You see, these two little British girls were inseparable. And when I say inseparable, I mean they only spoke to each other in a secret language that only they understood. See, they rarely ever spoke to anyone. But as they got older, their love for each other turned deadly. And they even started to try and murder one another. See, they truly believed that one couldn't exist with the other one still alive. And they were soon branded psychopaths at the age of 14 and committed. A reporter was shocked when Jennifer told her in an interview that they had both decided that Jennifer was going to die. And that's exactly what happened. Jennifer died, apparently of a heart condition. Now, I think there's something bizarre about that, don't you? June? Now, whichever one June is, if you're wondering what happened to her, she went on to live a normal life and is now free and mentally sound. Or is she?
Let's talk about the random stairways that have been found in the woods, and these are not the stairway to heaven. As the story goes, there have been many staircases found in multiple national parks around the world in the middle of the woods, where no man has ever lived, nor any buildings have ever been built. You see, apparently there was a park ranger, and where he worked, there were many paranormal disappearances in the national park, but by the scene of the disappearance would always be a staircase leading to nowhere. You see, but it's crazy because all of these stories really line up with anyone who's seen the stairs, and anytime they see them, they usually get the urge to flee instantly and get filled with a feeling of dread and misery when they meet eye contact with it. There have been a couple of brave souls that actually walked to the top of these stairs, and all they said was they couldn't hear themselves breathe, and it was very, very quiet. Although the staircases are pointing up, I'm afraid it's an entrance for the place down below.
Photo behind me does not look normal whatsoever. What you're looking at is the moment that the Hindenburg ignited. After the Hindenburg began experiencing a hydrogen leak, it caught fire and was up in flames in seconds. This majorly put a halt to blimp manufacturing and killed 36 people.
Many people say her ghost haunts this road. In 2016, a young nurse by the name of Cherie was travelling home. She'd just moved from the city and moved to the country and had this beautiful long sweeping driveway, total privacy. But as she travelled through the dark of the night, something ran across in front of her and she swerved and crashed the car. As the bloodstained men chased her up the road, Cherie ran straight into a car coming the other way. She was so thankful that her life was saved and jumped straight in. But what Cherie didn't know at the time is if she'd made the right choice. Now, if you want to know more about this story, go check out my YouTube where I just posted the full story. And from here on out, I'll be posting 2 to 3 times a week on there.